Jetsprinting in New Zealand has grown enormously in recent years, so much so that for this meeting here at the Waimakariri River near Christchurch this weekend, there are over 100 entries, and Mark Cromie has already been round the course once. So how did you find it, Mark?
Terrible, I think. Only because we sort of went round one of the pegs the wrong way, but we've been watching a lot of the other boats, and we sit here for sort of 4 or 5 hours. It unnerves you a wee bit, and you know, we got round and pretty clean with no real touches, so that's all we've really got to do in another round today and a few more rounds tomorrow. And there's a lot of entries, a lot of hot competition. This speed will get up pretty fast by the end of the day.
Difficult course or not?
Difficult that we've got a lot of power and we can't use it, and I do like using the horsepower that we put in there, but I'm sure the course will straighten out as we blow a few banks away later on today.
Okay, Mark, looking forward to having Mark in the commentary with us this afternoon. And we join now the final 16. And the fastest qualifier, Mark Cromie, is our first competitor. To take us round the course with Mark, here's Ken McDonald.
Mark's just gone off to a flying start there now. Quite simple, this bit of course, but he's coming up now to gate 2, which is very, very tricky. And probably one of the ones that Mark really wants to get around. He's done that beautifully. Now proceeding on up to a series of S's. And then into a figure 8, which is going around now. You've got to go around this twice. Mark seems to be driving quite nicely there at the moment. Around the island, and he's heading on his way home. Another very tight corner. Then coming down to another quite tricky little part. He's through there. Again the S's. Right around the outside of the course there, and now on their homeward leg, and he's through there, back to the hard corner we had at the beginning. A lot of people have gone aground here earlier in the day, but Mark's got through there again nicely, and now heading for the jump.
And that's a good start by Mark Cromie, 109.07. And the next competitor is John Watson, third fastest qualifier.
John away again to another good start. John's driving for the jet boat shop and their Pro Sonic. It's powered by a 400 Chev with one of the new experimental Hamilton 2-stage units. John's got through that corner that I was just telling you about. That's whoa.
Nasty spill there for John Watson.
This is John. He's just come out of gate 2 there now. On a replay you can see that he's fighting there with the wheel. He's going from one lock to the other lock. And now heading right out of the river, landing very heavily on the side. One of the crew appears to have lost a helmet. That one of the worst accidents we've probably seen as far as that, but you can see again that the roll bar there has saved them. They're both okay. And this sport a couple of years ago we didn't have roll bars, and now you can see why they're there and why they're compulsory.
And the good news is, after that horrific spill, John Watson, who's the gentleman on the right, is okay. So also is his crew, and that's very pleasing after that horrific spill. All set to go again. Next competitor is Blair Smith.
Blair Smith's driving a 132A sprint hull, specially developed by Hamilton's. And he's running a Donovan 400. And this Donovan's a special engine. It's running on, it's methanol injected. He's built this combination of a sprint boat because of its weight of the engine. The engine's very, very light, being all aluminium. And he's got a lot of power. They're having a lot of trouble in that number 2 there. He's going pretty aggressive. Actually, I think the guy can just back off a bit and get a clear run, and I think he'll be in the 8. I just noticed earlier on they had their unit to pieces. They had suffered a lot of stone damage on their blades, and they're getting a lot of slip out of some of those corners. This thing's producing sort of 700 horsepower. If you can imagine what it's like in about 12.6. He's taking a pretty careful sort of a line. He's going really well. This hull tends to crab walk slightly when he comes out of corners. It does make it a bit uncontrollable. And of course you lose, every time you throw it sideways, you lose that forward speed of the boat. It's important to keep the boat going in a straight line. There he goes, over the jump. And it's a 108.74. Now we have John Howell. And John's North Island contender. He's come a long way from Tiara, and he's a very, very strong competitor in the North Island. He's running a supercharged 350. Tends to be not quite a very good course for him with a supercharged motor. It adds 150 pound to the top of the engine, and it does tend, when you throw it in corners, to wallow a wee bit, but he's got a lot of experience of this jet sprinting. John will be just after a clear round, and he'll get into the 8, and I think that's, yes, it had a split time of 30.71, which I think is an excellent split time, isn't it?
Very, very quick.
He's got that John Helm aggressiveness in it. He's out to win this sprint today. He's being careful, he's going well. Yeah, there it goes. What's he going to do? I think he's going to be in under the 110. Yes, that's a 1.0708.
Next competitor, Greg Tullett.
Greg Tullett's driving another, it's a 132A. I noticed it just missed a wee bit off the line, but he's running methanol, and they do tend to bargain with methanol, and they just need to clear themselves a wee bit. He's running a 773 Hamilton jet unit. He's been sprinting with this hull now for a good 12 months, and he's got a very good boat. He lacks a wee bit of horsepower, and he sort of drives it flat out all the time, but he's a very consistent driver. I'm pretty sure he'll get into the top now. Did you see? He was lucky on that corner to recover it, but a quick flick on the wheel and he pulled it out. Shows you really that later on the day like this, that when the pressure's really on to qualify, it doesn't take much to make a slight steering error and you suck shingle.
A bit slow through the first half at 34.28.
Yeah, that looks like a split. He's going to end up with a time of somewhere in the 110s, 111s. An aluminium hull. It's got a very light, high-tech deck. The boat weighs about 285, 300 pounds. But with the P76, it does perform pretty well over the big Chevy V8s.
112.64 then for Greg Tullett. And now the man who was the 7th fastest qualifier, Robert White.
Robert comes from the place where all the oysters are. That's the Bluff. So he's come a long way. These Macrafts have been a very, very strong contender. The hulls are very good, nice and light. They suit this course. They just tend to be a wee bit windy, the course, and they do tend to drop off the plane slightly, but I think they've got their act together. With a 400 Chevy, the 400 Chevy seem to be very popular, good-sized cubic inch engine. We'll be interested to see what his split time is on this Macraft. What's our best split time up till now? There we go, 31.51.
Just slightly off the pace, which was around 30.7.
I would say as long as Robert gets a clear run, he'd be very happy. That's all he's after today. This Macraft hull was built in 1986. Robert won the 1986 Massey Ferguson Jetsprint, followed by another one as well, Clutha. My gee, this man travels from one end of the country to the other following Jetsprints.
He sure does get around.
He certainly gets around this course. And he's over the jump, and now that was a pretty good time with a 1.0790.
That's the second fastest so far from Robert White. Now here's a familiar boat, Mark Cromie's boat in fact, driven this time by Bruce Street.
Bruce has been driving this boat for 12 months now. The boat's been handling this course really well. It suits the hull design. It stays right up on the plane round the corners and doesn't lose a lot of its forward speed. It's a Hamilton 132 sprint hull, very, very light, 1.5 mil on the side, so you clip a bank, you put a dent in it, but you just knock it out with your fist. I would say Bruce will be just after a clean run. I told him to save the engine because I've got to use it as well. And that was a good split time, 31.83, a wee bit down, but he makes it up on the straight lines on the line home.
I bet your heart's in your mouth every time this boat goes around. And you're not in it.
Bruce is from Christchurch, so he knows all these shallow type rivers pretty well. He's very good in the windy one. Just running a Hamilton 773, bronze impellers, hardened tips on the blades, and it looks like he's doing a good run. I shouldn't really say that until he crosses the line. That was a pretty good time, a 1.08.65. And that'll get him through to the next round for sure.
Here's Miles Levy now, the 8th fastest in qualifying.
Miles Levy is from Christchurch. He's driving a 131A alloy hull, which is just a wee bit shorter than the 132s. By geez, he does throw it around. He's got a 400 Chev. These 400 Chevs seem to be very popular here on the sprint course. So you notice this guy, he just doesn't back off at all. Around that figure 8. The biggest problem in the figure 8 is crossing your own wake, and it does tend to make the boat skip a wee bit, but the Hamilton hull definitely handles that type of condition. 34, with a split time of 33.42. It is down off the pace, but he'll be just after a clear round to get into the 8. It's amazing, once a few of these boats go round the course, they do tend to straight line the course a bit because they blow away the banks. And you notice when he throws it into that corner very horrifically, it actually slows the boat's forward speed down. And he does tend to be losing a lot of forward speed by doing that. It's a 1.14.11, so he is a wee bit down in time.
There are 16 boats that are running today, but the overall field was over 100. And this is the reason why some of them didn't make the top 16. Next man up is Chris Gifkins.
Chris is from Timaru, which isn't quite so far away from Christchurch. He's driving a 132A, which is another Hamilton hull. These Hamilton hulls seem to be a bit hard to beat out here on this course today. I wonder if Hamilton's had anything to do with setting the course. But they do seem to be very good. Another 400 Chevy. The General will be very pleased with their 400 Chevys today. They seem to go for the cubic inches. Now that cost him a lot of time. He threw that boat in that corner and it pulled out of the hole. You've got to keep the boat up on the plane. With a split time of 33.05, it's not a bad split time, but he's still going to be a wee bit down. He's going to be into the 114s for the finish. He seems to be getting a wee bit of jet unit slip. I just wonder whether he's picked up stones. Quite a lot out of that corner there. So all these guys have been sprinting for a few rounds now with sometimes more than one driver. It does show you some of the times that some of these guys are actually crossing the finish line about now. So you can just see how much he's actually got to gain to a 112.35. Not a bad time. I think he might just scrape in on a qualifying time.
Now we have Conrad Scott.
We've got Conrad Scott here from Geraldine. Conrad's a very aggressive driver. This 1-2-3 sprint hull, oh, he nearly gave it away there. It's very deep in that hole, so he knew where the depth was. I saw him walking around earlier on, so look at the spray. He just totally disappears himself in the spray. He is having a bit of problems out there. He's very untidy around the course, but he's getting a lot of jet unit slip out of the corners. You've got to keep that boat up on the plane, and we do seem that a lot of these shorter boats tend to bog in on the corners, and they lose their forward speed, and they have to pull out of every hole. With a time to beat of 1.1411, I think he's way behind now. I mean, the minute's nearly ticking, and he's just given it away.
That's the end of the ball game then for Conrad Scott.
you can see starting to get sloppy there now. The boat's just starting to drift. He's lost control, and it's just, he hasn't caught it. He should have pulled it the other way, but it went too far on him. And once he hit the shingle, of course, it went around too far. It's all over. So Conrad can go back to the tent and perhaps have a refreshment for the day. One of those things.
Time to beat is still 1:14.11. Man attacking that time is Eddie McKenzie.
Eddie McKenzie, believe it or not, is a paraplegic. So you people out there, I know we've got no brains, but Eddie's got other things as problems. But man, he can certainly drive this Macra. He's a very, very aggressive driver. He's got a steering wheel with a hand throttle on it. So he's not like us that use our feet. But there's other people drive that boat, and it is easy to drive like that. It's got a 400 Chevy in it, a 400 Ford engine. This is about the only boat with a 400 Ford. Now, I tell you, I wonder if we're going to have the Fords against the Chevs today. With a split time of 33.21, he's down on his time on a split time. I think he'll be in for about a 110. This boat is going very well. It's climbing out of the holes well. Eddie's just after a clean run. If he can get into the 110s, he's just a limit, knock somebody else out, and he'll be through. Death elimination is one thing about the sport. If you miss out on a good time, you're all over and you're sitting on the grandstand. We'll just see whether he pulls that 1:14.11 back, because if he beats 1:14.11, he beats Miles is out. Yes, he did a 1:12.40, so that puts Miles Levy out, and Eddie McKenzie's in.
And the next run coming from Paul Kinsman.
I just noticed Paul's motor's just missing a wee bit off the line, but it's certainly cleared itself pretty quick. What time did his son put up in the last run? That'd be an interesting one to sort of... Yeah, he put up a 1:12.64, so I think Dad's always been a wee bit off the pace. But the 132, he handles it well. He's been driving it for a while, and he's very good round the corners. Look at it, doesn't drop its tail when he goes around those figure eights. Sits up very well, which is good. Just keeps his foot flat to the floor. He's down in power. He's got the only guy with a P76 here. I must admit it's methanol injected, so that does give him a bit more horsepower. Well, I tell you, he's got a bit on the line here, because if he pulls a better time, it's his son he's knocking out. So we're in some pretty stiff competition. Driving it pretty good. I tell you, he's put up a pretty good time. He just hit the shingle. Now, that cost him a wee bit. I'm sure that cost him a half a second. We got a 1, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 113.23. So his son definitely is still in. This is Graham Begg from Winton. Another Southland man. He's driving an Atchison hull, which has got a 3.8-litre V6. Boy, geez, definitely down on the litres, but he certainly, I was just going to say, he throws this around, and he certainly did. He went into that corner with a bit much power on, through the boat, and she spun, and the jet unit came out of the water, and that was all over for him.
So the party's all over for Graham Begg.
You can just watch, he's going a bit hard. The boat's right up on the plane, too fast into that corner, far too fast. If he just de-accelled to boot it, and he threw it, it went right round, lost the back, just far too fast. Just can't handle those G's into the corner.
And the last competitor in the final 16 is Kevin Aitchison.
You see Kevin's from Winton, driving the Aitchison hull. It really is going good. Kevin's been boating for about 18 years. He's been sprinting for 3 years, so he's a pretty experienced boater out there. So we'll just see. I hope he does a lot better than his mate driving the boat. It's amazing how two people can drive a boat totally different. He's a very aggressive driver. This hull does handle very well. It doesn't tend to dig in on the corners like the Macra. It's not stalling on corners. And he is down on horsepower too, with only a 3.8-litre V6. So this is the only game guy with a V6 against all our V8s, and he's looking like pretty good out there. He's down on his split time at 33.26. He'll be struggling to do a 112. And Greg Tullett's the man to beat, and I don't think he'll beat Greg. But
he's working it hard, and if that V6 can beat a V8, P76 all the same. So we'll just see how Kevin went. 113.24. He was just slightly slower.
And we'll have the final stages of the Waimakariri Jetsprint for you at about 5:25.
These are the quarter-finalists. John Hallen, the fastest. Nowhere near the fastest time recorded on this course, but good enough to get him through. And looking down that list, Bruce Street and Mark Cromie both driving the same boat safely through to the final 8. And perhaps the two to miss out, a little disappointing to miss out, were Paul Kinsman and Kevin Aitchison. So those are the final 8 for the Jetsprint. Well, Howard, it's a pretty intricate looking machine, this one. How difficult was it to set up?
Well, it has taken us a while. In fact, we're still doing a lot of experimenting on it. We brought the motor out from the States. It came out of a sprint car over there. And of course, nobody really has had such a light motor and such a short boat over here before. So there's been quite a bit of work go into it, and there's still a lot more yet.
Well, you say the engine is imported, so I imagine there's a fair bit of expense involved. What is it a sport that the average bloke in the street can get into?
Oh, sure. Obviously, we've got different classes, and we go right from the family class boat, which fellow just takes the family out for a picnic run on the weekend, up into the high-tech equipment such as you see here. But you have just as much fun regardless of what class you're running in.
And now we're down to the last 8, and the man who was fastest in qualifying, John Hallen.
John Helm, I see now there's only 2 North Islanders left in this, and that's John and myself, so we've got to show these South Islanders that we do know how to get around these courses. John's got a lot of horsepower with his supercharged 350. He's a man that usually suffers the dB problems, which is the decibels, and he's done a lot to quieten the decibels. He was running yesterday at 95, so it does knock his horsepower back a wee bit. But he's around those corners very well, and I must admit he has sorted this course out. With a split time of 32.18, yeah, he's up on his time for a split time from last time, so he is driving pretty well. He does a lot of sprinting. He's at every sprint meeting that I ever go to, or you see he's at every one around the North Island. They tend to be a wee bit longer, the courses in the North Island, not those sharp corners, but he's determined he's going to win this today, and he's going to put the best show he could put up. And I'll tell you, that was a good time of 1.07.84. Was that a better time than last time?
No, just slightly down on
just
last
slightly down.
This man recorded 107.90 in his previous run. This is Robert White.
And Robert's all the way with a Southern Magic. That's a Mack Craft. She certainly makes a lot of noise. It's with that crossover type extractor system. It just doesn't sound like the normal V8s out there. But I must admit, with a Hamilton 773 jet unit, by geez, he was pretty close on that one. I tell you, he's out. He knows that he's got to go this time, or else he won't be into the final 4. Now that cost him dearly around that corner. Threw it into that corner, and you just lose the forward speed.
What a bad split though, 31.18.
I think that was a better split than last time. Round peg 10. I see that the pile of shingle on peg 10 is basically gone completely. He's been jet sprinting for a long time, Robert. I just noticed the navigators aren't really having to work too much. Now, that costs them dearly too, trying to keep the boat in the water on the corners. That's a pretty good time of 1.08.67.
Now in the Mark Cromie boat, here's Bruce Street.
I just hope Bruce is a bit careful. I want to use the boat myself. Bruce driving the AC Delco boat. He's handling this course very well. He hasn't had an upset at all weekend, so I think he'll have to put up a pretty good time this time. He's got to go for it because he's got a few guys in front of him that put up fast times too. See how the boat stays right up on top of the water around the corners. Now that really does down a wee bit there, but throwing some shingle out the back. He's working it pretty good. Notice he's got a good driving position. He really doesn't work or fight on the wheel too much. Doesn't have to.
Right up to the pace with and they split 31.22, just slightly down on Robert Waite's time.
Yeah, I sort of feel he has to really push it a bit harder than that, and he's bogged it down in that corner there. Now, that'll cost him dearly. So he really does have to work it pretty hard from now on, or he's just not going to pull it through. Just listening to the motor, it sounded like he was just backing off going down that last straight. But still, he's got to be cautious. He's got to finish to get a time. And there goes a 1.06.98. So that's definitely the fastest time so far in this round.
Mark Cromie's just left us because he's off to drive his boat very shortly. We're watching now Blair Smith, and joining me in the commentary is Ken McDonald.
Blair played into another fine start. Driving to 1-2-3. Again, the latest Hamilton boat. Running a two-stage unit and the Diamond 350, all aluminium engine. Fuel injected, running pure methanol. Blair's reasonably new at the sprinting game. He's really only just come into it in the last few months, and we can see that within the next year or so, Blair's going to be a hard man to beat. A young, aggressive driver, really pushing that boat. Suffering a slip, as Mark was saying before. The unit has sucked a lot of gravel over the last 2 days.
Not a bad split though, 32.15, so it's right on the pace.
Up with the pace, so he just made... No, that's Blair. He can go back to the tent as well. And there he is there. He's just coming around that loop. The hull has bogged down a little bit. It's jumping across its wake there, just cutting the corner on the gravel there. He's got... And the next corner, and any minute now you'll see it go right out of control. It really started from right back there at the beginning, the combination of speed. But there it is, it's a good way to stop.
Bruce Street already has this boat round in 106.98, a quick time. Now it's Mark Cromie's turn.
Mark, I think, has already beaten that time once before. He's been sitting up here in the caravan telling everybody how to do it and picking all their mistakes. Now we can sit there and watch Mark and see if he can really do the job properly. So far he is. He's looking really quite tidy. Coming up through the S's there. Quite a bit of pressure on Mark. This is probably the best he's ever done in this jet sprint. So he's now really out for this win. He's done a lot of work over the year with the boat. And I think he's definitely handling the best I've ever seen him.
Boy, that's a quick split, 30.58. That's the best so far.
So Mark's on the case. Around here where Blair Smith so nearly lost it there, or did lose it right here. Mark still appears to have a reasonable amount of power up his sleeve. Playing on the throttle. Coming down into probably the most difficult corner. 132 is handling that beautifully today. That was a close one. I bet Mark's a little bit nervous and rather relieved to be going over the jump. And look at that time. A 1:04.82.
Boy, what a drive for Mark Cromie. 1:04.82. That's the fastest. The pace being set by Mark Cromie. And now it's Chris Gifkin.
Chris driving a same sort of boat as Mark Cromie's. Probably not quite in the same horsepower league, but again, Chris is one of these fellas that over the last year has just improved tremendously. He's got around that hard corner. This time a year ago, Chris was, I think, was in his first sprint here, and he has competed in every sprint since. It's certainly paid off. He's got a little bit of trouble there with the jet unit, though it's still slipping. He's lost it. I believe he's gone the wrong way. Yes, he's going back now to have another look. He didn't do the second loop with the 8. So he's going to have a go, which doesn't actually put him out. 38.59, and so he still could be in a chance. There's still 2 more drivers to go around. They could both stop.
Looks like a bit of a lost cause here for Chris Gifkins.
Chris really is just driving home. But he's going to fight it all the way and have a bit of fun. Nice clear run.
Only 2 more boats remaining in this round, and the second to last, Eddie McKenzie.
Eddie driving the Macraft, as you can see. of the, I think the only boats remaining with a Ford engine in it. IDA carburetors, 3-stage unit. He's really throwing it around. Whoa! It's through though. Did he go the right way? I think he's lost or regained control, but something's gone wrong down the back there. We can see that Eddie's looking fairly worried. No, he's going home.
Had enough. I think they lost their way, basically. And so Eddie McKenzie doesn't complete the course. He's out.
This is where John Watson just crashed off the course earlier. Eddie's coming up here. Looks like it's all good. I think he's trying to cut across the corner of that gravel there. You can see he's right in tucked in there, but because of that he's gone too wide and he's gone right out there. There he is. He's gone on top of the gravel. That certainly would have blocked up the grill.
The last boat with a chance to make the semi-finals belongs to Greg Tullett.
I think he's got a very hard job to beat it. Again, he's driving one of the Hamilton 132s, P76 pounds, the smallest motor here today. That's going for the 8. You can see the navigator there shaking his hand, trying to get more power out of it. Greg never lifts his foot. He's again clipping corners. The quickest way to get there. Driving very tidy around there. Still hasn't lifted his throttle. Still pushing it all the way. This is another chap I would say over the next year is going to be right up front.
Time to beat is that of Robert Waite at 108.67. Tullett's still a chance.
Never tells us. He's taking the shortcut through there. That is a lot. Well, we'll see shortly just if that is quicker. I think he's the only boat we've gone through there so far. Time to beat him at 108.67. He's struggling. No, he doesn't quite get in. So that was a good drive for Greg.
So we're down to the last 4 now. We've lost Blair Smith, Chris Gipkins, Eddie McKenzie and Greg Tullett. And the 4 semi-finalists, Mark Cromie, the fastest through at 104.82. Bruce Street driving the same boat. Second fastest, John Hallen. And Robert White completes the final 4.
Sandra, how did you get involved in the sport of jet sprinting?
Jet sprinting? Well, through my father. We got a boat about 10, 11 years ago. And we do a lot of family boating and river boating and adventure boating. And when the jet sprinting came up, well, we got into that, and it's through my father really that I started jet sprinting.
You've never really been involved in other sports that perhaps young girls will be involved in, like tennis or anything else like that?
No, too busy jet sprinting.
And how much time was taken up in practice and in actual competition?
Oh, not much time, not for me. It was just boating in the weekends and just driving our boat up and down the river and get a few skinny bits and have a wee whirl, and it's good fun.
And how is a lady like you accepted in a sport which is mainly male-dominated?
I just push in.
Now we're right down to the business end of this competition, down to the final 4. And the fastest man through the course, first to go, is Mark Cromie.
This is when the pressure is really quite something. I've been there myself. I know that from now on it's jet sprinting only. Mark's away again there to a nice start, driving faultlessly. I feel he's still not using all his power, but he's trying to make sure he doesn't make any mistakes. And so far today we haven't seen it. Mark's not clipping any banks or doing anything like that. Round the 8. It's looking good, looking good. AC Delco, Hamilton 132.
Boy, that's a fast split, 29.36. That's the fastest so far.
That's quite so. Whoa! Mark nearly did a whoopsie, but I don't think he would have lost very much time there. He recovered from it beautifully. But he's still going to have to try now. He's going to have to try really hard right down to the end. He knows Bruce can be there. I don't think he's worried just which driver comes through to the end, but I know they'd like to see both of them battling against each other. A little bit untidy there too. He's trying hard now. Down and over the jump. There it is. A 1.04.1. 104.15.
That's sure to take him through to the final. That's his quickest run of the day, the quickest we've seen on this course from Mark Cromie, 104.15. And away we go now with Bruce Street.
Bruce Street's got Mark Towler navigating for him, but really at this stage of the event, the driver should know his way around that course. It's absolutely no problem. So Mark is really just there as ballast, and that was a minor mistake there by Bruce. He went a little bit wide. He's recovered from it though quite tidily. Around the 8, still looking quite good. A little bit rougher, I think, than Mark driving at the moment, but Bruce probably is the most experienced. He has won this event once before. It was first started off, I think, 3 or 4 years ago. But he's driving nicely there now. He probably didn't lose any time. How's the split?
Just a bit slower than most.
Just a bit slow on the
about
split.
a second and a half.
This boat does seem to be a little bit slow in this part of the course, but when it comes to the run home, it seems to come away with that really fast time. Around the harder corner there, heading down towards the jump. That's when everyone in that boat now just looks at that time clock. There it is, a 1.0607. Not quite as fast as Mark's, but I would say that'll put him in, and I think we'll see Mark and Bruce in the final.
The time to beat for John Hallen is 106.07.
I think we're going to see a really forceful drive here from John now. He's got to improve his time by over a second. He's going to have his foot to the floor the whole way, and that's exactly what it is. I don't think I've heard it lift off yet. Whoa! It hasn't slowed him, I don't think, no. He's okay. A beautiful recovery. Very similar thing that we saw happening earlier. John has got nothing to lose. He's just got to keep pushing. He's got quite a lot of horsepower there. Again, it's quite heavy, so he's not a bad split.
Very good. Faster and back to Bruce Street.
I think he's lost there anyway. He's out, going out of the course. Well, that's a shame. Yeah, that's a shame. John's come all the way from up north, and he really was driving beautifully. This is John really giving it everything he's got. He's got nothing to lose. He's going through that corner that's caught quite a lot, and it's caught John there. It hasn't slowed him up at all, though. In fact, it could have even helped. So John really has to pull everything out, and at this stage, it's very, very hard to concentrate on what you've got to do and where the course is. I even think John just there was starting to go perhaps the wrong way, because very shortly we're going to see just what he did wrong. His split time to beat should be interesting, and there it is. He comes through there with a 30.26, and he's gone wrong right there. He should have turned round and gone back round gate 10.
And now we have the last of the semi-finalists. It's Robert White, time to beat, 106.07.
It's only this man now that can put out Bruce Street. Bruce will be sitting down there, fingers crossed. Robert, again, will be just doing everything he possibly can. Again, Robert has won this event once before. He certainly has. Hey, he's okay again. You see that the action really starts to happen here now. There's just nothing to lose. It's just a matter of just trying everything you can. If you can cut corners and get there faster, that's what you do.
Not a bad
And there it is.
30.86.
So he's looking good now, looking really good. He may have some more tricks up his sleeve still, so we'll just have to wait and see. Backcraft just tends to wallow a little bit on those two corners there. Robert is very experienced to keep in control of the boat the whole way. Here he comes now, down towards the finish, and time to beat it, 106.07. He hasn't done it.
Well, he gave it a good go, though. 107.89. So the finalists will be Mark Cromie and Bruce Street.
Robert here trying to get into the final four, coming up to the corner where so many are just not doing it nicely. And there's Robert on the inside, out onto the outside. It seems to be the fastest way. Everybody's doing it so far.
And then there were just two, Mark Cromie and Bruce Street, to contest the final. Cromie with a very fast time in the semis there at 104.15, and Street 106.07. They might go a little slower in the final just to get round, but it's a battle between the two men, both driving the same boat.
Well, Bruce said he won't take the shortcut if I don't, but I know what sort of tactician Bruce is, so I think we've just both got to go out there and pedal pretty hard. I mean, we've got to put on a good thing for the crowd, you know. That's what we're here for. The boat's been performing really well all day. It's been right up on the top. We've done a lot of work to it, getting it right, and this year we've certainly got it right. And I think Bruce agrees with me.
Yeah, it's been a lot of work. It's been 12 months, and we've been in the finals a lot, but the whole purpose, I suppose, in the first place was to get the boat up first and second every time. And now it's taken us 12 months to do that, and here we are first and second. It's great. It was interesting. I know Mark has to run first simply because of the way of the rules are, but a toss of a coin, which I think they've done in not so much this event, have they? But other times they've done a toss of a coin. But really, it doesn't matter.
I'm not really worried who gets first as long as the boat gets first.
Well, he's been the star of the show so far, has Mark Cromie, the fastest man round the course today, 104.15, but this is where it really matters. This is the final. Mark Cromie to go first.
He's looking quite relaxed there. Crew counting it down. Go! As Grant says, it's full throttle from now on, and I think we'll see Mark really trying hard. He's really got very little to lose. He can only come first or second. He's driving beautifully. This is the corner where everyone loses it, but not Mark. He's done it perfectly. I don't think I've seen Mark hit any gravel anywhere all day. Nicely, he's looking good. Mark, I think all the work of the last year is really paying off for Mark. After spending many, many hours on the AC Delco, this Hamilton Jet 132 is absolutely performing brilliantly. So far, he's made absolutely no mistakes. He's now heading on his way home. There's not much to say about it. Mark's just doing it all right. Coming down towards the jump. Now I think we're going to see another good time, and we have. That would be the fastest time of the day again, a 1.03.95.
That's
Terrific
the time
drive.
that Bruce Street has to beat, 1:03.95, and he's in the same boat. And he can really bury it, can't he? Because he's going to finish second anyway, whatever happens.
He's second at this stage now, even just from the fact that he started. As Grant said, there's nothing to lose. If he just keeps his foot down there now, he can just try his best, and you never know, he could just turn around and beat Bruce has won before. A wee bit untidy there, keeping the foot into it. One would wonder if Mark has perhaps sort of said to Bruce, now I want to win this one, or just what they've talked about, but I'm sure they're both just racing now. It doesn't matter who wins, the best driver will.
I'll tell you what, he's got a quicker split time, 30.19. Cromie was 30.32. So it's all on over the final stages.
We know that this boat can go really fast back down the course. I've seen some incredible times coming down there. I think it's going to be very, very close, that's for sure. Looking good. Not got far to go now, and we're going to know the winner of the Charisma 1988 Jet Sprint. Down and over the jump.
No, he couldn't do it. 105.44, so it's Mark Cromie's Jet Sprint.
Good try.
And he really got the quinella, didn't he? He's won it himself, and his boat has finished first and second, so he'll be a happy man. It's a while since he's won any sort of sprint, and
he's looking very pleased with himself, and I think he's got every right to be.